I reckon if this car was an animal, it's called the #1, I know, silly name, it'd be a fluffy lapdog. You know, cute, little bit bougie, and is pretty happy living in the city and the suburbs. But like a Pomeranian, this small SUV doesn't come cheap. However, given its Mercedes-Benz and Volvo crossbreeding, it could go all right. In this video, I'm going to test the Chinese-built car's urban and around-town abilities, its tech features, check out the interior, and of course, test its electric powertrain. Let's do it. This is pitched as a premium small SUV, which means it will rival EVs like the Mercedes-Benz EQA, the BMW iX1 and Volvo EX30. Plus you could probably lump in high-spec versions of the Hyundai Kona Electric as well. There are 3 Smart 1 model grades offered at present, 2 of which are single-motor rear-drive jobbies and a dual-motor all-wheel drive Brabus hot hatch that sits at the top of the tree. We're testing the mid-spec Smart 1 Premium, which gets a single e-motor, 440 kilometers of range and lots of luxury features. But there's a big problem that new and largely unknown Chinese challengers face in export markets, and that is brand recognition. There are countless Chinese brands coming into Australia and other export markets, and not all of them are going to flourish. In fact, I reckon some of them are going to die a slow death in many export markets. But Smart has a sprinkle of familiarity on its side, and it's supported by a number of established Mercedes-Benz dealerships and related infrastructure in Australia. The Smart brand was revived as a joint venture between Mercedes-Benz and Chinese car giant Geely, and there's also the larger Smart #3, which I've recently tested and is a fairly impressive unit. Far out. Roll-on acceleration is just incredible. But the car that will really put Smart on the map is the #5, an all-electric Toyota RAV4 sized family SUV with a rugged look and some ultra-cool features, coming in late 2025. Anyway, the Smart 1 starts at $55,000 and this mid-spec model is around $60,000. And while that might sound like a lot of cheddar, it's actually reasonable value considering the premium interior fit-out and generous equipment list. Warranty provisions are stock standard in terms of time duration, if a little low on distance covered, and service costs around $625 per annum, which is a little exy, but not what you'd call shocking for a luxury car. In terms of optics, the Smart 1 looks pretty tidy. Its car-sensing matrix LED headlights and LED taillights integrated nicely into its curvy bodywork. There's a hint of Mini Cooper in the design, and I especially like those 19-inch alloy wheels. They're so different to everything else out there, and they're aerodynamically optimized, as are the power-operated door handles, so they're flush fit when you're moving. And little attention to detail too, this 3D Smart, nice. This EV features a single e-motor mounted between the rear wheels, driving the rear wheels via a single speed reduction gear set, which is what most EVs use. Now, it generates a respectable amount of mumbo, but if you want serious clobber, get the Brabus version. It is barking mad. It's also a bit more expensive. The motor draws energy from a 66 kilowatt lithium-ion NCM or nickel cobalt manganese battery, providing a range of 440 kilometers on a full charge. You can enable V2L or vehicle to load via an over-the-air update, which is pretty cool, but you'll have to buy the cable separately. In terms of charging speeds, it tops out at 150 kilowatts, which is good, but not class leading. Our testing showed DC fast charging was pretty good, taking just under 30 minutes to go from 15 to 80% battery, effectively meeting the manufacturer's official claim. This is a cool setup. Squinty high-def digital screen here. Big high-def touch screen here. Gorgeous flat bottom steering wheel here. Lovely leather seats. 13-speaker Beats stereo. It's off to a good start. Most key touch points throughout the cabin have a high-quality feel, starting with the gorgeous form-fitting front seats. The leather quality is really, really nice, and they're 6-way power adjustable with 4-way powered lumbar. And together with the steering wheel's good range of movement, finding the ideal seating position is easy. The seat cushioning isn't as firm as in the Smart 3 Brabus I tested a few weeks back, which is nice. I think I prefer the softer seats, and they still have good bolstering. And the steering wheel too. It's got the same lovely leather and overt white stitching as the seats. The steering wheel controls work well, and I really like how the Beats speakers and air vents have integrated LED mood lighting, adding an ultra-modern ambience. The contrast white headlining adds a bit of pomp and gives a nice juxtaposition against all the black in the car. And the dashboard too. It's got soft touch materials, but below the belt line, there's some harsh, scratchy plastics. But I gotta say, overall, this vehicle embraces more high quality materials than most of its Chinese rivals. There's plenty of spaces to store your personal junk, with 3 littered cubbies offering plenty of versatility, including a wireless phone charger, USB ports, cup holders, and even a chili bin to keep your drinks cool. You've got a nice sized glove box, sunglasses holder too, and the switch for the powered sunblind. It feels fantastic. I don't know what it is about it. It's gorgeous. The door pockets are huge. They fit the Mega Gulp. I love that. And the pièce de résistance, this huge cargo area under here. You could fit a fluffy lapdog under there, a Pomeranian even. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's big. As the French would say, très bien. Although this is kind of German, maybe we'll go with wunderbar. Now, the tech stuff, and I really like what Mercedes and Geely have done here. This attractive 12.8-inch touchscreen going for a more playful and colourful layout than the drab formulaic menu systems of most cars. It all looks fantastic, and I like the choice of shortcut buttons hard-coded at the bottom of the screen here. So, for example, you can hit the fan button and not have to drill through several menus to adjust the climate control. Handy. Wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are in there, and they do 2 things many competitor cars don't, most likely because this vehicle has a high-performance computer brain, namely Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8-core CPU. Firstly, that powerful processor allows for a full-screen experience. It looks fantastic, and rapid touch response. Secondly, there's not as much delay in wireless Apple CarPlay phone calls, which earlier versions were shocking for. There'd be like 1.5 seconds delay sometimes, and you would constantly talk over the other person when making calls in the car. Another pleasing feature in this compact EV is the AQS, or air quality system. It shows air quality inside and outside and has a 3-minute deodorizer system to improve air quality in the car. Whether this air cleaning function can actually remove human emissions from the cabin, and especially stinky ones, is another question altogether. But the fact that it has an air quality sensor, a PM2.5 sensor, and a multi-layer filter are all very welcome. But it's not all cherry blossoms and honeydew, because adjusting the side mirrors, for example, requires a bit of menu surfing and your full attention. The 10-inch slimline digital driver's display looks good and works well, but not everyone that had a gander at it liked it. In fact, one colleague hated it and wanted to burn it with fire. But look, for me, I quite like its cutesy, video gamey sort of graphics. And honestly, if you hate it that much, there's a really, really good head-up display here as well. The parking cameras are very good, delivering sharp visuals with oversized overhead and reverse views that dominate the large screen. You've got extra camera angles and even a slick 3D mode, all super easy to toggle through. And if you're a nervous parallel parker, don't sweat it. The self-parking system has you covered. Given the Mercedes connection, a 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating comes as no surprise, with 7 airbags and lots of semi-autonomous systems designed to make driving safer. Like its bigger bro, the Smart 3, rear seat space is very, very good, especially for a car that measures 4.3 meters long. That's for 2 reasons. One, the wheelbase. It's quite stretched. The wheels are at each corner, short overhangs. And 2, it's based on a clean sheet EV platform. It's not using a legacy combustion engine platform, so you don't have like the transmission tunnel and all the extra bits and bobs there. So I've got heaps of legroom. And although I do sit fairly close to the steering wheel, which is for a good reason, check out my video on seating positions for why, it's still heaps of legroom. I've got heaps of headroom. It feels really airy and spacious back here, which is all the more impressive given this vehicle is shorter than a Toyota Corolla. The big windows are good. Not only do you get a nice view of what's going on outside, it feels less claustrophobic in here. And small touch, frameless windows front and rear. A little bit fancy. The seating position is good, nice and relaxed, but I will say this, there's a strange protuberance, a lump back here that's poking right into my coccyx when I snuggle back. And the reason for that is probably because these seats fold down, which I'll show you in a minute in the boot, but they also slide as well. So pros and cons. Amenity is really good too. You've got the adjustable twin air vents, USB A and C ports, plus 1, 2, 3 storage pockets, fold out armrest, nice, twin cup holders, good. And there's smaller touches too that have a really high quality feel, like the LED push button light. Even the grab handles and coat hanger have this like really nice engineered feel to them. And family buyers will also appreciate triple top tether child seat anchorages along with dual ISOFIX anchorages as well. This is a neat feature I wish all cars had. Lock it and the windows automatically close. Pretty cool. Now this one has a frunk as well, but it's tiny. It's this tiny pocket here. You'd barely get a box of homemade cookies in here. It seems like a bit of a waste because there's all this other space. Anyway, round back you get a gesture controlled and power operated tailgate that reveals, well, a fairly small boot. That said, it's not as tiny as say a Toyota Corolla hatch. Like most EVs, there's no spare tyre, just a puncture repair kit, but there is actually a bit of room under here. You've got the charge cables, a first aid kit, plus there's a bit of space for extra stuff too. Amenity is pretty good. You've got 4 tie-down points, 2 really good bag hooks, a couple of netted cubbies. Be nice to have an LED light. That kind of sucks, but you do have a cargo cover. And look, the overall space back here, you'll get a couple of carry-on suitcases or a big grocery shop, but if you're gonna do a Bunnings run, you're gonna have to fold down these rear seats. This is a charming little unit, and it's got a hint of Riz, and I suspect it's gonna be pretty handy in the suburbs. Guess what? It is very handy around town and in the suburbs. A small footprint, a tight turning circle, excellent vision, front, side and rear make this a very city savvy little SUV. The compact steering wheel and sharp steering system make rapid changes of direction and navigating roundabouts an absolute doddle. Impressive for a car that weighs 300 kilograms more than an equivalent petrol-powered hatchback. I really like how Smart has calibrated this suspension because it's confident and responsive through corners, but still rides smoothly over bumps and lumps in the road. It's very well suited to everyday driving duties and urban exploration. The car's dampers and springs smoothing out cruddy road surfaces very effectively thanks to a long suspension stroke. Its composure is all the more impressive given A, it doesn't have adaptive suspension, and B, it rides on big 19-inch alloy wheels, which are shod with quite sporty rubber. They've got quite thin sidewalls, which makes them very stiff, an aspect that often negatively impacts cars' ride comfort. Not in this case. Well done, Smart engineers. It doesn't nosedive under hard braking or pitch up during heavy acceleration either. And speaking of acceleration, it gets up and boogies in sport mode, and it certainly feels more muscular than the spec sheet suggests. Once you're up to speed, it's a good highway cruiser. Feels solid and stable, which makes sense given it weighs a ton. Well, technically almost 2 tons. It's got pretty good autonomous driving systems as well. It will keep itself in the lane on the freeway, and the adaptive cruise control works nicely as well. Only criticism is it's a little bit overzealous at times. And another thing to mention about freeway driving is that, like most EVs, it's less efficient above triple-digit speeds. Refinement levels are good. It's a very quiet car in general, with only mild tyre roar and wind noise noticeable at highway speeds. Like a lot of modern cars, however, there are annoying beeps and bleeps from the safety nannies when you go too close to lane markings or do 1 kilometre over the speed limit. It takes a bit of fiddling to turn off the safety system's audio alerts through the touchscreen, but if you set up a profile with tailored settings, you won't have to do it every single time you jump in the car, which gets annoying pretty quickly, I can tell you. Overall, this is a nice car to drive, and the thoughtful, pragmatic features far outweigh the annoying ones. And you can take this electric SUV beyond the concrete jungle. Gravel roads, easy peasy. Urgent at a track? Not so lemon squeezy. Its sporty tyres and rear drive layout and middling range mean off-road trails would be a little risky. Its cruising range? Well, the claim is 440 kilometres on a full charge, but in the real world, the best I got was 350 kilometres, with another 50 kilometres apparently left in the tank, suggesting a circa 400 kilometre range during normal use across various speed zones. Overall, this is a cleverly executed and easygoing SUV, and it feels more polished and well-rounded than some of the recent Chinese arrivals we've tested. Perhaps teamwork really does make the dream work. Okay, so there are a couple of blemishes in this Mercedes Geely mashup, such as its middling cruising range, small boot, and sometimes counterproductive safety systems. But the Smart One gets most things right. Despite its quirky attitude and my poor analogy comparing it to a yappy, fluffy dog, there's a lot of substance to this vehicle, and the fact that it's a great daily drive only adds to its appeal. If this car is anything to go by, I reckon Smart has a very bright future. Thanks for watching, hope you liked the video, and what do you reckon? You reckon Smart has a future, or will it die a grisly death like some other brands? We shall see. Anyway, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next time.